History is littered with strange figures and proponents of the mysterious inner machinations of society. Some of civilization's greatest intrigues owe their infamy thanks to the strange, perplexing characters that seemingly pulled the strings behind the curtain, safely shrouded behind the public eye. The vast majority of them are tied in with layers upon layers of conspiracy and theories that have permeated their way across the ages, beginning as merely a whisper or an unfounded rumour, but becoming much more than that as the ancient winds of historical mystery give life to their legend. Well, let's take a look, shall we? Hello horror fans, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host, Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 most mysterious people in history. Roll the clip.
I have a use for you.
Damn it, I get chills every time. For the curious amongst you, that clip was from perhaps my favourite BBC series of all time, Taboo, starring Tom Hardy, which on a heartwarming note was actually co-written by him and his father, Chips Hardy. It tells the tale of James Keziah Delaney, perhaps the most awesome fictional 18th century humbug of anything ever. And if you haven't seen that show, I implore you to watch it. You won't be disappointed. Anyway, on with the show. Kicking off at number 5, Madame Blavatsky. And it also leads us to an important opening note, because as is the case with pretty much every entry on this list, history can only ever lead us so far when it comes to these mysterious figures. On the one hand, they may have been genuinely tied to powers beyond our understanding, but on the other, they could have merely been charlatans with interesting tales to tell. As is the case with Madame Blavatsky, otherwise known as Helena Petrovna von Hahn, a Russian occultist and philosopher born in 1831 to an aristocratic Russian Germanic family. Now, like many figures throughout history that have been tied to the occult, Aleister Crowley, Francis Dashwood, and Rasputin to name a few, the case is still out as to whether any factual credence was given to the life and styles of Madame Blavatsky, but perhaps much more than anyone, her tale has much further reaching implications. Widely self-educated during her teenage years, Blavatsky quickly garnered an interest in theosophy and 19th century philosophy, where she embarked on a series of world travels that led her from Europe to America, then India, and later the Himalayas. Here she claimed to have encountered a group of spiritual adepts who referred to themselves as the Masters of the Ancient Wisdom, a sect of followers of an ancient civilization that hid in the shadows of time. They sent her to Shigatse deep in the mountains of Tibet, where they painstakingly trained her to develop a deeper understanding between the synthesis of religion, philosophy, and science. Blavatsky claimed that her newfound knowledge was an attempt to revive an ancient wisdom which underpinned every religion across the planet, and back in Europe, her claims kick-started a spiritual revolution across the wider aristocracy. Whether you believe her or not, that's down to you, but nonetheless, Madame Blavatsky led an incredibly intriguing life. Next up at number 4, Francois Sauniere. And what if I told you that Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code was actually based on a very real historical figure who was famously referred to in the 1982 book The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, but may have been tied up in an ancient mystery that potentially predates the Great Pyramids of Giza? Let me introduce you to Francois Berenger Sauniere, a Roman Catholic priest who served the vast majority of his adult life in the small French village of Rennes-le-Château up until 1885, where he was forced to resign from the church. Now, Sauniere would probably be virtually unknown in modern times if it wasn't for the fact that he's believed to be the last known gatekeeper of one of the oldest conspiracies of recorded history. The claim is that way back in 1891, while serving at his parish in Rennes-le-Château, Sauniere discovered a series of ancient parchments hidden in a hollow pillar of his altar. As the conspiracy goes, those parchments documented evidence that Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene were married and produced offspring that eventually became the Merovingian dynasty, leading to an ancient line of Frankish kings that allegedly still survive to this day. Sauniere's mystery goes even further though, because it is alleged that he was never banished from the church, but instead acted as a secret operative for the Priory of Sion, a secret society that was publicly founded as part of a hoax in 1956 by Pierre Plantard, but allegedly defended the Merovingian line throughout history. The mystery is murky, and it's important to note that the vast majority of this is mired speculation, but nevertheless, it's food for thought, right? Swinging in at number 3, the man in the iron mask. Now, the stark reality of this particular entry is that we may never know the true identity of the infamous man in the iron mask, a historical figure that has since given rise to some of the wildest claims and speculations across the ages. There is one thing for certain though, the man in the iron mask was an unidentified prisoner that was arrested in either 1669 or 1670 and subsequently held in a variety of French prisons for a period of 34 years. He died in 1703 and his true identity has all the trappings of a legendary historical mystery. One of the leading theories of his identity comes from the legendary French philosopher Voltaire, who claimed that the man was in fact the older illegitimate brother of the King of France, Louis XIV. Other claims point toward him actually being the king's twin brother and was imprisoned to avoid any dispute over the throne. Now, many of these theories lack any historical evidence and rely heavily on speculation as to the motivations of the key players in the French court at the time. However, there is one theory that perhaps has the clout to back it up. In 1890, Louis Gendron, a French military historian, came across a series of cryptic coded messages later revealed to be the great cipher of Louis XIV. In them, it referred to a prisoner identified as General Vivien de Boulogne, who had committed a cowardly retreat during battle and thus angered a furious King Louis. In the cipher, his imprisonment is denoted as being avec un masque, which in the 17th century would have directly meant in a mask. Whichever the speculation, there's one thing for certain: the man in the iron mask remains one of history's most intriguing mysteries. Next up at number 2, the Count of Saint-Germain. And I absolutely adore this guy because there are either two truths to his claim. Either he'd made a complete and utter laughingstock out of European high society during the mid-1700s, or he actually was an immortal entity that flitted between the centuries. Or both, actually, which is awesome. Born in either 1691 or 1712, depending on which version he told, the Count of Saint-Germain was an incredibly capable adventurer with a fervent passion for science and the arts. He went by many names and titles: the Marquis de Montferrat, Count Balamera, and Chevalier Schoning, to name a few, and in order to deflect inquiries about his origins, he would often claim that he was over 500 years old. The thing is though, unlike many grifters and schemers of the era, the Count of Saint-Germain actually had the clout to back up his claims. Prince Charles of Denmark considered him to be one of the greatest philosophers who had ever lived, and he was also pretty much best friends with the previously mentioned Voltaire. He was a natural born composer and reportedly played the violin more beautifully than any of his contemporaries, despite not being a dedicated musician. Later on in his strange life, he claimed to be the son of Francis Rakowski, the Prince of Transylvania, but it also often thought that his social subterfuge was a scheme to safeguard his true identity, the last line of the persecuted Habsburg dynasty. Through his adult life, he intentionally spun a web of lies and intrigue that served to hide his true identity. But personally, I like to think that the Count of Saint-Germain was merely a commoner, albeit with a few tricks up his sleeve. And finally, coming in at number 1 spot, Nikola Tesla. And of course, perhaps one of the most underappreciated, enigmatic and brilliant minds that humanity has ever known. The legendary inventor, thinker and engineer responsible for some of the most monolithic breakthroughs in electricity and energy, and a figure whose life has constantly been the figure of mystery and wild speculation. First off, we can't discredit the fact that Tesla doesn't receive the honors that he deserves and was the recipient of countless smear campaigns and controversy throughout his life, mainly from the proponents of big business throughout the United States, where he was naturalized as a citizen in 1891, the same year that he patented his legendary Tesla coil. Despite being a widely recorded public figure, the one event that underpins the mystery of Tesla is the controversial fire that destroyed his New York laboratory in 1895. Now, the event completely devastated Tesla's laboratory, fully consuming the Fifth Avenue building and subsequently destroying all of Tesla's ongoing projects, as well as his thousands of research notes, material and models that were set to shape the course of our future. It is widely believed that Tesla was on the brink of creating a fully realized and workable model of wireless energy, hallmarked by the infamous Wardenclyffe Tower, financed by the renowned JP Morgan, which is held up as one of the most notorious failures in modern history. Now, there are countless rumors as to what caused the fire at Tesla's laboratory, many of which we won't go into as they are rarely backed up with any kind of credible evidence. Sadly, Tesla never truly recovered mentally from the disaster though, and spent the rest of his life in deteriorating health, strangely obsessed with the number 3, which became the center point to his final years. Whatever the truth, Tesla had many groundbreaking notions, the majority of which are yet to be fully explored today. Who knows, maybe someone will find something lurking in his old records, and, well, don't even get me started on Tesla's death ray. That's a whole different story. Well, there we have it, folks, our list for the top 5 most mysterious people in history. What did you guys think? Agree? Have any more to add of your own? Why don't you let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below, as well as any choice picks for your viewing enjoyment. Before we depart from today's video though, let's first take a quick look at some of your more resounding remarks from over the past few days. First up, Nope Nada says, could we get a Q&A video? We ask you guys questions about your favorite horror games, movies, books, etc. Well, that sounds like a mighty fine idea to me. You know what? I'll see what we can do, and we'll make that happen. Cheers, buddy. On that note, we better get busy. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Just stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video or just top 5 scary videos in general, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos. Until next time, you take it easy.